Okay, so let's get going. I want to show you a few materials first. And so I have here the biochar, and the one thing that's really important is to make it as kind of small as, now I won't disturb it too much because it's very dusty, as small as possible as you can. If you want to make Terra Preta, you need to make sure that your materials, the particles of your materials, are as fine as possible, as they can be. Because for every particle you can get of organic matter to combine with a particle of biochar, the better it's going to be in the long run. There's two reasons for that. One is that when this decomposes, the nutrients of that particle is more likely to be able to go into the actual particle of the biochar, be adsorbed and absorbed to it. And the second reason is worms can actually eat it and digest it. So they're going to inoculate this biochar and the organic matter at the same time. And I think that is the secret to Terra Preta. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. I mean, nobody really knows. Even scientists are trying to work it out at the moment. So there we go. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to make first an actual Terra Preta wormery. That's what we're going to try. Okay, so I have some cow manure here with which I actually am going to start this wormery. It is the most dry cow dung that I have, and Terra Preta, basically, literally all you need is some kind of organic matter, and you need to make sure you chop it up really well, and then, as I mentioned, your biochar particles have to be chopped up really well as well, and then you can actually mix it really well. And that's also another key ingredient to making Terra Preta, that this mixing process has to happen and it has to be done really well. Now, just a quick tip. What I've done is I've taken some of this biochar, which I made in the pit. You can see the video as well. I put a link in the description how to do it. And I've made it, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I made it very fine. Some particles are quite big still, but I rolled it with a jam jar on a bit of concrete, flat concrete, and I got most of it down to really fine powdery. I don't know if you can see that. And basically the amount of ingredients you'll need, there are different types of things you need to add to this thing. There could be stuff like bone meal, eggshells, milk, what else, pottery shards, or clay particles would be good. So cow urine, a whole mixture of things. But for this one, the wormery type thing, I'm just going to try and make it as basic as possible, because I want to find out, is it just the actual worms and the actual binding of the two small particles together that makes the difference, if you get what I mean. So I'm just going to try this as simply as possible with my wormery to see if that's actually going to make the difference. So here I am going to put in about, this is going to be my food for my wormery. I'm going to put in about 20% of this is going to be biochar. So I think I'll just dump it in. Maybe a bit more. There we go. And now I'm going to powder it up as best as I can. And ideally I should wear a mask, because this is very harmful for your lungs. So bear with me. Let me just kind of break this up a good bit, and then I'll get back to you in a sec. Alright, so you can see there's plenty of small particles there of the actual cow dung, and the actual biochar is coating them. You might not see that, but it's a lot blacker than it was. Now I didn't get all of them kind of that small, of course, because you know it's like very difficult to do it with just this. But the main point really actually is that the biochar particles are small as well. When this gets wet, the worms will be able to eat that, no problem. But the biochar particles have to be small for the worms. Okay, so I'm going to add some water now, and then we're going to start making our wormery. Now, I wanted to mention one more thing. At the end of this video, I'm going to put a link to a video I watched a while ago. What was it called? something with El Dorado, something like The Secrets of El Dorado or something like that, Terra Preta. And it's basically an hour long or something like that, but it's the best documentary you could ever watch. And I want you to watch that, because if you don't know what Terra Preta is, I could spend like an hour trying to explain it. But I did a way better job in this video. So check it out. I put it on the end of this video, and just watch it at your own leisure as well. You will be very pleased, trust me. You want to watch this video. Okay, so here are worms, about 80 to 200 worms, I'm not sure. Didn't count them, but there will be plenty to get the whole thing going. They're compost worms, not earthworms. Just make that distinction. Put in some wet kind of weeds. I'm just putting that on top so that they don't kind of suffocate when we actually start putting on the mixture. Which now we have here. Look at that stuff. So I'm going to just surround that now so that they can actually move into it as at their own discretion. There we go. Now normally I would stop now because there's plenty of food for just maybe 200 worms, but hey, never mind. Let's just throw it all in and see what happens. There we go. Now some people are asking me why do I make my wormeries in such large containers? Why don't I make kind of a lengthy one? It's mostly because I just get these for either free or cheap, and I can make a hole in the bottom and then I can just collect the liquid like that as well. I just find it practical, and it's easy enough to dump the whole lot out and change, like basically separate the worms from the things later on when it's actually outside the barrel. So that's the reason. Now all I gotta do is get some kind of Hessian's bag like that, and I'm gonna close it up and we can have a look at again maybe in a month's time. So stay tuned and I shall let you know how it gets how we get on with it. Now if there's too much biochar in the mix, I will know pretty soon, and then I can actually adjust for it as well. So I'm gonna make a few more videos, maybe 2 or 3 more after this, and maybe I'll read out some of your comments, suggestions as well, and we'll just kind of play it by ear and we'll see what actually works. Right, let's get to actually making the stuff now properly. And what you're going to need is any kind of organic material. So with the wormery I use this cow droppings dried. Usually what you use some kind of wood chips that are finely chopped. In this case I have really aged wood shavings. The reason I'm using that here in the tropics is because most trees have defensive essential oils in there, and that's of course not going to be good for bacteria and things like that. So it has to be aged wood chips, and the reason we're putting this kind of wood chips in the first place is because the high lignin content, and this tends to allow fungi to grow pretty well. Now you can also use like fish fertilizer, anything high in protein, baby oat, soya, bran, anything like that. So I'm sticking that in there as well. Hoppala. Get that in there. And then the next ingredient I'm going to put in, first of all I'm going to mix that all up nicely. And you do want wood shavings because they're nice and fine as well, so that they break down quickly and the worms can get in there. And we're talking this time earthworms, because we're going to put it on as a mulch onto our garden bed. So just mix that up nicely. And then, same again, we're going to use some biochar, but for a wheelbarrow you only need 1.5 cups or 2 cups of this, roughly that amount basically. So stick that up, stick that on, put up my t-shirt in case I actually breathe any of that in. Now in Terra Preta they also found wood ash. So we're going to put a little bit of wood ash in there. This is proper wood ash. I'll stick that in there. And then they've also found pottery shards. So we're going to put in some clay powder. And then we're going to mix it really, really well. That's really important. As with the worm stuff before, where did that come from? we need to really mix this well enough that every single bit is coating some part of the organic matter. If you got any leaves or any bits and pieces like that. Right, so I'm going to spend about maybe, I don't know, 3-4 minutes really mixing this well until I feel like everything's mixed properly. Right, that's as good as I'm going to get it, I think. There we go. Next step is going to be, we're going to take half a watering can of just water. Let me take you a little bit closer. Just come a little bit closer and I can show you what I'm doing now next. Okay, half a watering can of water. Stick that in there. We're going to put in a bit of mother tincture. Now it would probably be better to make an activated form already and then have mixed that with the biochar, but then having said that, I want the biochar to basically mix really well through the dry material so it binds to each particle better. But it would probably have been better to make the activated stuff, but I don't have that because that other activated stuff we need for the trial. So I'm just going to use some of this. Essentially, you don't really have to put in EM. EM is something you can put in. You have to put some kind of microbes in there. So you could use a very good bit of soil, for instance, from something that smells really, oh wow, sweet and wonderful, just to inoculate it, get stuff going. I'm just throwing some of it into the wheelbarrow. EM, compost tea, any kind of microbes, just so that you can actually get the process started. Then some jaggery or molasses would be good. This is actually palm sugar, which I don't like using, but this is the only thing that you can get in India. So we just made some EM. Then we're going to stick this back into the watering can itself. And in a minute we're going to add a very special ingredient. Hang on. There we go. Okay, so half full EM with some jaggery in it. And now we have our cowpea. Oh, that stinks. Oh. It's well aged. Now, a good friend of mine, I forget your name, sorry, on YouTube you mentioned in one of the comments that 48% of cow urine has a pathogen in it that is very bad for humans. And of course, if you're putting stuff like jaggery and stuff like that, compost tea making, and you're putting cow urine or some urine in general, you can actually, these guys are anaerobic and they propagate like crazy. And then if you eat it, you can actually get very, very sick and die. It's very, very rare for this to happen. But just a quick note of caution, don't ever drink compost tea. It's not for drinking. Don't drink EM. Don't eat plants once you fertilize them. Wait at least a month. Always kind of put the fertilizer you're going to make, homemade fertilizers or any fertilizers for that matter, have to be put on the soil, and you have to wait a month before you harvest. You just have to use common sense. So I just wanted to say that note of warning. Now we're going to take this mixture and we're just first going to do a bit of a stir. There we go. Right, and that's it. We're just putting about 5 litres or so on this, and then we'll stick it onto our bed, and I'll show you that now in a second. And this is how you start making your Terra Preta. Give that a good old mix. Okay, let's go. Alright, so what I have here is I have 6 beds, but I wanted to do a kind of a crop rotation thing so I could teach people crop rotation very easy, kind of a visual thing. You see here there's 1 bed, 2 beds, 3 beds, 4 beds. We had eggplants here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I chopped them down now that they're finished. We have another bed there and another bed there. And basically these 6 beds are exactly the same size, and I want to be able to do 6 trials, so we see which one actually works the best. I'm going to continue mulching as well with whatever plants I actually have in there at the time. Like I had sunflowers there, and then I'm mulching some part of this bed and so on. So we're going to stick it onto the tomato beds and the bean bed here. Let's just do that. Come a bit closer. Alright, looks like I'm running out a little bit. I need to make probably another batch, but you get the idea. And yeah, that's 2 methods on how to actually make this Terra Preta. It'll be interesting to see what the actual worm compost will look like, and is it maybe just that it goes through worms. The earthworms surely will gobble this up now soon, once it starts decomposing. And yeah, in a few months' time we should start seeing some effects as well. And I will dig down as well. So that's it. One last thing I wanted to mention as well. We can't keep chopping down the rainforest. These methods, people are looking more and more into these methods because a huge civilization actually managed to survive on this type of agriculture. 1 million people in the worst possible place in the Amazon, where the soil is the worst possible way. And if you can actually do that there, you could do it anywhere. Alright, it's about, 4 weeks later. I have a cold at the moment, so bear with me. Basically what we have here now is the wormery. That's the update on this now, is that basically it completely failed. The worms just legged it, kind of. And then what happened is I decided, okay, what is it what the worms really want? Of course they want bacteria, because bacteria is what they're actually really after. When they're gobbling up all this material, they're actually eating bacteria. And so I stuck in some leftover EM, activated EM, and I got a bit of garden soil with a bit of compost in there. Smelled really sweet, so plenty of bacteria in there, good bacteria. Stuck it in there as well. It's about that high with our Terra Preta mix. And yeah, this whole thing is just an experiment. I love experiments, and half the time they don't work out, half the time they do. And when they do, it's just pretty good when they do, you know. So I put in the EM, the actual compost, and then a week later I put in some composting worms, and this time they started actually going into the material. And let me just show you what I mean with that. Right, let's take you in for a closer look. So here's the material. It's, let's see, oh, and basically smells pretty good, smells sweet. I put these in about 2 weeks ago, and they are starting to go in there. I only put about 100 worms in there, so they've just spread throughout the whole entire material. So I'm gonna leave them to it. I don't want to disturb them really too much, but it is good news that they're going in through this whole material. We can't find them everywhere. Let me just grab some more. Sometimes they hide out deeper down as well. Look at that, I put in a few earthworms as well. So that's one. So I don't want to disturb them too much, but they're in there definitely. And I'm just going to let them get on with things. Ah, there's one. There's a few actually. I don't know if you can see that. I don't want to disturb them, so there they are. And they're happy out. Within another few months, they should have actually started multiplying nicely. I started gobbling this whole thing up, and then we can actually start putting it on the soil and see how that goes. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned, and if you have any ideas on the whole Terra Preta thing, then please do comment away. And yeah, in the meantime, we'll see how this goes. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one as well. Oh, I have a cold. I'm delirious.